Welcome to another episode of the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. This is the show where we spotlight the artists, the stories, and the passion driving today's rock and metal scene from around the world. Today, we're turning up the energy with a return guest, Nikollaj from modern hard rock band Clozure. The band is hitting the road, little mini tour coming up here this summer in a little over a month in support of their powerful new single, Framed, a track that marks a heavier, more emotional, and more focused chapter for the group. Nikollaj, welcome back to
Hi.
the Metal Queens podcast.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right, we're going to start with Framed. It feels heavier and emotionally charged, this song. What was happening creatively that pushed the band in this direction?
Um, Honestly, I feel like every song is just kind of like a specific pinpoint for moments in our lives. And I think when Framed happened, our drummer at the time and I were personally going through some really big decisions coming in the future. And you can definitely hear it in the drums and the vocals because we are absolutely hard heaving, like in hitting it. And I think it started off with Cordell making a riff and then Mike just decided to play something heavy towards it. And then it answered and it like beckoned a certain emotion that I was going through because I was going through like a breakup at the time. And personally for me, that song was very, very influenced on the struggles of touring as a musician because a lot of the times what people don't like to talk about is how much hard work it is and how it can be like very straining on relationships when you don't see like a loved one or a spouse for 2 or 3 weeks. So it's the dynamic that your loved one thinks that you're just living your best life and everyone's gawking over you and like you're Mr. or Mrs. Rockstar. And even though you're absolutely enjoying it, sometimes you miss them. And things transpired where I was on tour and I was being faithful and still being a front woman and still loving my fans and whatnot. But the other side wasn't quite doing the same. And, that's where in Framed, it literally talks about is it the distance that makes us fonder? Because with you, I still wonder. And it kind of goes into the details of like cheating and fidelity and like how a person says one thing and puts you into this frame, but then absolutely does the other. So like the picture's not matching the frame, and there's just a lot of discrepancies going on. But yeah, for me, that's exactly what that song means. But I do think I wrote it in the aspect where you don't necessarily have to go through like cheating or infidelity or be in a touring rock band while it's happening. You can definitely apply to your own personal life.
Yeah, sonically, this track balances aggression with melody really well. How
Thank
intentional was
you.
that contrast of that balance?
Mm, it's weird when you're writing music. I don't know if you're necessarily always thinking about contrast, but emotionally, I think you just kind of lead to whatever you're feeling. And I know with my personal situation, the contrast was a very real thing because being heartbroken only happens if there is so much love that existed at one point or another. So I guess maybe I did really honestly create something where it was maybe melodically on the like romantic side, but was produced with a lot of aggression. And looking back at it, I can really see that within the verses to the choruses, because the verses are almost like on a talky, more relaxed tone, but then the choruses, when it really hits, and I'm really questioning, the integrity of that person, you can hear the aggression. And so, I don't know if I was personally kind of shooting for um, a high contrast, but I do know that like my heart was possibly there, and so it definitely like made that happen.
Since we last talked late last summer, you released
Yeah.
another track too before Framed, a song that I really like, Walk in the Sun. What's the story behind that one?
Walk in the Sun is quite literally the product that made this band. It was actually written, my God, I think the end of 2024 when I first met my band. Because my band's still a baby band. We've been together for about 2 years. But long story short, when I left a band that I was previously and I was, genuinely contemplating quitting music, and I went through a lot because at, the ripe age of 24, I lost my father, and I was struggling on being able to discuss it and even just kind of process everything. So we were writing the song called The Devil Effect, which is released, and we were writing the song called Nevermore, which was released. And those were songs about the breakup of a previous band that I was in. And my lead guitarist, Cordell, came forward with, a sheet of lyrics and like the main melody or rhythm of a guitar. And it was called Walk in the Sun. And what he originally wrote it about was this dog Ginger that he has, that he adopted post divorce. And I think he kind of like poured his whole entire heart into this dog because, like, you have one of two options, right? You can either go through a lot of heartbreak and pain and buy something pure like an animal and put your love and emotion and kind of like recharge happiness to grow again, or you can be like me and write very angry rock songs and sing about breakups, right? But he wrote it about this dog, and this dog is dawning on its the end days. I mean, it's about 14, 15 years old. And I think he just sat one day in his chair and really thought about absolute heartbreak, about potentially losing this dog. He's married again. His life is happy. But when he looks at that dog, he sees how much the dog, subconsciously reinvested back into him. And so he wrote it for his dog. But me, as a daughter that like lost my father, the lyrics had a completely different meaning. And so we kind of collaborated back and forth, and I had to change a couple words just to make it fit also with my situation. And for our first two tours that we ever ran, we would literally introduce the song as if you are ever, in the process or the situation of losing a loved one sick, or you already have lost someone. Um, I hope that the song is able to like give you the words that maybe you don't know how to create, because I, as a musician for 2 years or 3 years, couldn't grasp the loss of my father until Walk in the Sun was written. And, I want to thank Cordell for the lyrics, and I want to now sing the lyrics to you and relay any of the emotion or the words that you need. This song is now yours. So it kind of went through like a tri-step process where he wrote it about this dog and the fear of losing it. I kind of constructed it and geared it towards the actual feeling of loss. But then when we released it out to our audience members, because we've been sitting on the song and we've been sitting on it to release it, the funny thing was, um, we kind of wanted it to be for the audience, where it's okay if you're not feeling okay. It's okay to fear the possible and potential death of something or someone. And it's okay if you're taking years in order to process the grief, because the truth of life is you don't feel pain unless something, you know good was in that place or that position at one point. And there was a reference that I use where they always talk about, without sunlight you don't have darkness. And I always say, for my father or anybody that I've loved that I've lost, people are like a really large river. They flow and they like literally give life to all the land around them, trees, animals, everything can blossom. However, when they pass, the reason why everyone cries is because that loved one of yours is just trying to find another way to water the land around them while they're gone.
Mm.
And so that song very much is my way. And you can hear it in the ending. I tear up and I cry because I genuinely think of my father when I write it. But that was my way of being able to cope with tearing up, like the way I am now. Because it's okay to cry. Sometimes it's literally just amazing people using you for your voice, your body, or your intentions to rewater the land around them. So like things can still flourish. There's a beautiful thing in sadness, and that song, I hope people listen to it and see that. And it's our only ballad. So, and we tried very hard to make a ballad because we struggle on writing ballads, but now we finally have Walk in the Sun, so I can say I've technically written a ballad. So yeah, that's
It's a
Walk in the
beautiful
Sun.
song. Definitely check that out, Walk in the Sun and Framed. And you're bringing these two latest songs directly to
Yeah.
fans. A little Southern mini tour here: Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. By the way, this tour with
Yeah.
Closure kicks off on June 26th in Prattville, Alabama, and it wraps up
Mhm.
July 3rd in Texas. What excites you most about these regional dates here and getting back out on the road?
So there's just a lot of change within the band, and there's like a lot of new writing styles and techniques. We we lost one of our drummers, but ironically, we lost a drummer and we gained a drummer that was already on tour with us multiple times. So thankfully they got along, they were friends, life and, transitioned and changed. So it is a new drummer with us. His name's Brad. He's a really dope guy. But he's got a very, very energetic way of playing drums. And we are going to be testing out some songs on the road that I don't think anyone, or I know no one has heard of because we've been writing them with Brad. So I'm a little excited because with these smaller runs, it's a bit more personal. You're able to quite literally see someone potentially 5 to 10 feet away from you and genuinely get their reactions. And it kind of reminds me of when I first joined the band and we were on tour with, I believe, Power Man 5000, Tantric, and Sponge. And we had a couple songs that we wrote that we weren't sure if people would like. So we would pick a random song for that night to test on our audience and crowd. And we would explain to them, hey, this song's still in the works. So after this song, I'm going to ask you to either give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a complete flick me off, meaning do not write that song and be done with it. And I think I'm going to actually do that for this audience on this little run again because it's nice. You can see the actual genuine reactions before you've finished writing a song and produce it and release it. And I'm excited with smaller runs too because I do think our strong suit in this band is the sheer fact that you could take us in a festival or a smaller show and we always connect with the audience. I mean, we're quite literally the band that just hangs out near the merch table and becomes buddy buddy with all of our fans and best friends to we will literally go to the freaking campgrounds with fans and tattoo our fans and take shots and like get in the the truck bed of somebody's car and like do a random acoustic performance. Like we shine in the aspect of actually getting to know our fans and with smaller grassroots runs and tours where you're in rock bars and theaters, you get to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Festivals, it's hard sometimes to connect. Like there'll be massive lines at your merch table and you can only give 30 seconds of someone's time before you kind of have to relay the next person and it's a tight schedule. With these tours, crazy things happen because you have the excuse to play with your time a little bit because the whole show is just based around you. So I'm excited for this tour a lot. I'm excited for the new music, our newer drummer to get more comfortable with us because the 3 times that he's played with us, it's only been like at massive festivals, and there's already a lot of pressure to begin with. Now he can actually enjoy himself and not be freaking out about doing everything right. But yeah, it's like a bunch of new energy. And then by the end of the year, which I can't technically release dates just yet because there's just a bunch of like people that have to sign contracts for the sake of festivals. We will have bigger festivals at the end of the year, but just to get to know our fans again and show off some new music and like test the waters. We have this like Gulf Coast kind of tour run. I think yeah, it's pretty much like a Gulf
Yeah.
Coast run. Yeah.
You mentioned new drummer. Luke Wood is joining several dates on this tour, and
Yes.
he brings an acoustic singer-songwriter vibe into the mix here. How did that collab come together?
So our drummer actually, I think, was working with Luke and one of our booking agents, and I like to say that the band is very based on vocal melodies. I feel like we're very vocally strong. And I'm very proud to say that like my bandmates like me enough that they want to be a vocally strong band because sometimes especially in the female rocker community, sometimes the women can get overpowered with so much instruments to compete with, Women tend to have a little bit like lighter voices and higher voices. And, you got 2 guitars, a drum, bass, a bunch of post effects and whatnot. But Luke is very vocally strong, but he has a darker ambiance. And we were talking about this before the podcast started. He is from Tennessee, but he's part of the Tennessee of like this new age of rock and roll that's kind of
Yeah.
emerging. And so he definitely has a darker Southern country acoustic vibe. It's like if you took gothic and acoustic country and you morphed them together. So I do think it's going to be a very interesting run because with me naturally being a little bit more on the vibrato, like I'd like to say I'm almost like a bluesy Adele rock and roll vibe when it comes to vocals sometimes. To have me be like the rock and roll bluesy Adele and then have a guy that is also in the country dark acoustic, I think it would be a nice mesh. So people really love vocals and they really love riffs and runs. And a overall dark aesthetic and not a specific genre, I think they're going to genuinely enjoy it.
Is there a song, Nikolai, or two that get you really hyped up and pumped before a show that you listen to, or an artist?
It kind of changes because I feel like I don't listen to just a specific genre. And I think when I am getting quote unquote pumped up, it's actually like me plugging in my headphones so I can make sure to not talk to the guys and tire my voice out because it's very hard not to talk to your bandmates. And I'm a very talkative person. So definitely when I'm doing my makeup, I'll put in my AirPods and I have like a playlist of music that kind of make me start to feel sexy and really bring out like the inner character of like what I'd like to portray on stage, which is just like genuine, like sexy rock and roll, almost like a dominatrix vibe. I like look up to the sexy, Pam Anderson, Carmen Electras, the Joan Jets. Like I'm into that kind of spiel. But I do not listen to rock before I go and do rock. Ironically, I listen to like a lot of Britney Spears, which is strange to say. Or I'm listening, actually, I do listen to a lot of White Stripes because I feel like it's like chill and it gets me into like my chill rock and roll vibes because my nerves are like up to here.
Mhm.
So if you listen to like the White Stripes or like the Cranberries or even just something playful and fun like Britney Spears, I kind of get into the mindset, but it does vary from time to time. Like as of right now, I'm into a really new pop singer named Adele, and she is like a very Slavic based pop singer, and she's very sexy and very raunchy. And I have a very good feeling that she's probably going to jump onto that playlist of doing my makeup and getting glam and getting into character. But it tends to be either very chill rock or very sexy pop, like hyper sexy pop. So hopefully
Are,
that answers your question.
are you someone who enjoys the chaos of touring or the quiet of the after show?
Mm, chaos of touring. I don't think I'm quiet ever unless I'm asleep or I'm silencing myself to save my voice. I'm definitely the chaos. I definitely bring the chaos. Or I'd like to say I attract the chaos and I allow it to flourish within my presence. Because I don't do anything crazy. Crazy finds me and I say, screw it, let's join. But I definitely attract the chaos. Like I think last festival I was tattooing Scotty Austin's signature on a girl's ankle and then also tattooing my signature underneath her ankle. And I definitely was flashed a couple times at the last rock fest. So I was tattooing girls' boobs. And I kept like begging them, like, please don't stick them out completely because I will get in trouble with that. There are minors here, but I will gladly sign your cleavage, but just no nipple action. And then, this kid, Nick, randomly like tears off his shirt and he's like, sign my chest. And I'm like, hell yeah. I mean, I've done it to everybody. I've signed butt cheeks. I think I signed butt cheeks. I might have signed one or two butt cheeks at the Rock Fest. But next thing you know, he comes to my little like, because I like to hang out with the like, even though I have artist badges, a lot of the times you are very lucky. Where if I'm like, you'll get lucky where you'll literally just find me in like the GA, just try to get into the pits and trying to like blend in a little bit, but it's impossible for me to blend in because I'm like naked and 6-inch stiletto thigh high boots and a corset and a bodysuit. But I try. And this kid finds me and he rips open his shirt. So I'm like, I guess I'm gonna sign his titties twice now. But he actually tattooed himself on his heart, like where I signed, he tattooed. And now there is a sweet kid in Wisconsin with my tattoo on his chest. And my bandmates were like, what the hell do you do to like bump into these situations? Like I will literally, we actually have a tradition now where after really big festivals, I sit in the tour bus and my little silly self will be like, you guys ready? And they're like, okay, yeah, give us the rundown of the stupid freaking things that you've managed to do. And then I go down the like list of things of chaos that I've done that either our merch girl or like our bassist has to like follow me around to make sure that I don't get kidnapped or go missing because I am that person. So I'm definitely chaos, but I do sleep like 10 hours a day. So like I will go to bed at 2 a.m. and I will not wake up again until the next day at like 11 or 12. and then I have 2 hours or 3 hours to get into hair and makeup and get on stage. So I feel like I don't even exist on tour unless I'm on stage or doing chaos, and then I'm back to sleep. So
Yeah.
it's like a 50-50.
Sleep in chaos. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
All right. So you have a couple of singles out here. What is the
Mhm.
plan for new music, EP, album later this year, early next year?
I think we might be doing an EP. It's definitely in the talks. We have like 3 songs already pre-recorded and done. Um, it's just a matter of, do we want to release them individually or with an EP? I feel like right now, and maybe I could totally be wrong, but I feel like right now EPs only do well if you've already grown your audience, especially albums. If you've already grown your audience and they're expecting a bunch at once because you might be like one of their core listeners and they don't listen to anything else but you, or like the selective bands. But, being together for only about 2.5 years, we're still kind of growing our audience and our sound. And I think we're still evolving, to be completely frank with you. So when it came to the EP aspect, we wanted to kind of make an EP of all of our favorite songs and then maybe throw in 2 or 3 new ones that no one's ever heard of. But we are toying with the possibility of just going single for single. That way we're able to kind of create like a storyline where it's like a song, a music video, and be able to explain ourselves as artists until people genuinely get to know who we are. Because I think we're still figuring out who we are. So on the path for singles, but there might be an EP in the future because we've had so many of them pre-recorded and then we're still writing. Well, actually, we have like 3 pre-recorded, 3 fully written, and then still working on a bunch. So I don't know. I know that we have a new single releasing in like the next like 2 months or so. Um, but EP is up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which a lot of artists are doing with singles now for an extended period of time.
Oh yeah. We're in the ADHD internet world now.
Yeah.
So like you release an EP and like there's the possibility of like an amazing song not having the potential to shine. We were gonna release an EP where Walk in the Sun, I think, was actually going to be like a feature. And then we decided, no, Walk in the Sun definitely needs to be a single because we were worried that people weren't going to be able to see it. Or it wouldn't be the song that people would be gravitated to. So it is true. There's just so much happening. And everything's in the fingertips. So you don't want to release too much and then it gets lost. And I think that's why EP's been like a more consistent thing with, even rock music, but just music in general.
Yeah. She is
Yeah.
Nikollaj from Clozure. They have a couple of new singles out. Check out Framed, Walk in the Sun too. They have this little mini tour coming up too, the Southeast Gulf Coast run. It starts in Alabama, Prattville, June 26th, wraps up in Texas on July 3rd. Follow them on social media and also at officialclosure.com for more tour dates later this year. And as Nikollaj mentioned, another single coming here in the next couple months as well. Thank you again for joining me. Great to talk to you again.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to the Metal Queens podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Steve Richards. I will talk to you again next time.